I'm Antony from Pinflair, and I'd like to share with you a few tips and techniques whilst using Pinflairs Gentle Blends painting system in conjunction with a brand new series of picture toppers from our background artist range. Turn what is a very simple black and white silhouette image in something quite unique and colourful by just making some really easy masks and just a few simple strokes of your foam brush. Let's see how it's done. Before we start our first demonstration, I'd just like to explain to you a few things about using Pinflairs Gentle Blends. Now, when you first get a pot, you may think that it's not quite full. This isn't the case. All what hasn't happened here is the paint hasn't been absorbed into the sponge. So to fast track this, what I recommend is you turn it upside down and leave it for about an hour. Then turn it right side up and leave it overnight. When you come back to it in the morning, all you need to then do is unscrew the lid and then just take the seal off the top of the pot. Here's one I've actually already opened, and you'll see that the paint has gone all the way into the sponge, all the way around the pot. Right, to actually use it, unscrew it, and then just simply using a foam brush, just press down in the middle of the pot. Then it's just a simple case of going on to your paper. Now, the sort of paper you'll be needing is 270 GSM or above to get the very best results. And that's the way of actually getting the paint out of the pot. When you first get the background artist sheets out, you'll see there's 3 separate designs, as well as some greetings there for you to cut out and add to your design once you've actually finished. Now, what I recommend is you cut each of the designs out separately, and then it makes it far easier to work with when you actually colour them. So when you cut them out, you're going to have 3 separate images, and always keep the actual greeting on there, so whatever colours you use in the main design, you can then use on the greetings as well. So what we need to do first is just get a piece of card, and we just need to stick down our image to the piece of card using some masking tape to all 4 corners. Now just de-tack the tape very, very slightly, and that will ensure that basically when you carefully take the masking tape off, it's not going to take off the layer of paper. So all 4 corners, like so, making sure in particular the masking tape doesn't actually go into your design at all. Right, so we're going to start choosing some colours here for this particular design. Because we've got fairies, we can go for things like the hot magenta, the pale pink, the peach and the lavender. So with this particular one, we go for the lavender. Now, always have a piece of scrap paper handy. Now, the reason I say that is because when it comes to adding colour, if you go directly onto your artwork, you may be adding too much colour. So always go onto a rough piece of paper beforehand, then you're going to know. We just want to add a little bit more colour actually to that, and that looks fine. And then we're just going to simply, in a swirling motion like so, we're just going to add some colour to the bottom of our design. Now, the really, really great thing about Gentle Blends is it is a really nice colouring system and really easy to use as well. You can see it's very, very soft indeed. It is almost like working with watercolours. So there's our first colour, the lavender, and we're just going to leave that one like so. Now we're going to change colours. We're going to go for the hot magenta again. We're just going to get our brush just to see how much colour we have on there. That looks about right. And then we're just going to place that onto our design, that swirly motion. And you will notice, because the actual silhouette part of the design has been printed using a shiny ink, it won't actually stick to that. Okay, there's 2 colours applied, so that's our hot magenta and our lavender at the bottom. We're just going to add a 3rd colour now, which is going to be our sunshine yellow. So again, just using our scrap piece of paper, just make sure there's not too much colour actually loaded onto the brush there. And then we're just going to gently sweep in between where we have no colour, so on what is the white areas. And you'll see where we actually go over into the hot magenta here and down to the lavender, we're actually changing that colour. The paint is still just wet enough to still be able to mix. And then just keep on going around, and you'll see the soft graduated effect you can achieve really, really easily. And then, like I say, with your greetings there, then we're just going to use the hot magenta again, just a little bit of that, and also our lavender, just go on to that one. Now it's up to you, you can use just one or two of the designs. I always colour both, then it gives you the option of, it's up to you which one you want to use when you're actually creating your card. So that's the really basic technique of using the Gentle Blends with the background artist sheets. The next design we're going to do is a little bit more complicated, but really, really easy to achieve again. Right, here is our second design that we're going to go for, and it's an Oriental sort of theme. We've got a hill or a mountain, and then a cherry blossom tree branch going over here. Now the only addition to this one, unlike the last one, is we've cut ourselves a circle out of a piece of cardboard, about 270 GSM cardstock, and then we just rolled a piece of masking tape on the back. Now this is going to represent either the sun or the moon, depending on sort of like the colours you actually use within your design. So what I recommend here is that you place the circle over a part of the image, so in other words a blackened image. Also remember to detack the tape. This is really important with this particular sort of style that you're going to achieve. If it's not detacked, when you take the circle off, it could actually bring off some of the black ink which is already on your paper. You don't want to do that. Right, let's just place that down. We're going to place it just there. And we're going to go for only two colours with this particular design. We're going to go for the rose red and the sunshine yellow. So we've got our red here. Again, just using a scrap piece of paper. Make sure that the brush isn't overloaded. And then we're just going to simply keep your fingers on the actual circular mask that you've done. And when you get near the mask, try to always work away. So in other words, dragging the brush from the circle onto your artwork. And like I say, as long as you keep hold of that, then that circular mask should keep in place. But I always, like I say, tack it down as well. So just go for a soft, gentle, sweeping motion over your design, like so. And just make sure we go right up to the edge of our mask. Right, so that's our first colour applied. And now we want to go for our sunshine yellow. So again, we just want to add a little bit more colour to the brush on a scrap piece of paper. And then once you're happy with the amount, just go over that. And it's always best to actually turn the design around as well. Again, just that simple sweeping motion like so. And then once you're happy with that, that's your two colours. Now we're going to create a third, but we're not actually going to use a third colour. We're still going to use the yellow, but we're just going to blend it into the red. So yellow and red make orange. And you can see that's just coming about there. So again, into this bit here, blend it right into the red, and you'll get that beautiful orange coming up there. And just go around the bottom of the sun or the moon, whichever you want it to be, like so. And then when you're happy with your colouring, then it's just a case of removing the sun. So very, very carefully, just lift up the edge and then just gently pull that off. And then you've still got the white area, which is either the sun or the moon. Now if you want, you can leave it like that, or you can actually colour that. It's entirely up to you. What we're going to do in this instance, we are going to colour it. So we're going to use the yellow. So again, just going onto our scrap piece of paper, so we want hardly any colour actually on the brush. And then just very, very carefully just go over where the mask actually was, and it's just going to tone down that white like so. Now we're just going to add some clouds. Now how we're actually going to do that, we're going to use our red, and again we're going to our scrap paper. So rather than doing the circular motions as we did before, we want to just drag the brush actually over giving us like wispy clouds. So let's actually apply that to the design. So what we actually want to do is go from the sky into the sun. So just some little sweeping motions like that on that side. Turn your design around and then just go for a few sweeps of the brush across there, like so. And then if you're happy with that, leave it as it is, but you can blend those back in by using the yellow paint. So just very, very gently go over where you applied that red, and it just tones everything in quite nicely. So that's how you're going to achieve that type of finish. Now the next one we're going to do is a little bit more complicated, but again, as long as you take your time and cut the masks as I'm going to explain, then everything should be nice and easy to follow. Here's our next picture that we're going to colour. So using the same mask as we did in the last image, again with the masking tape we're just going to place that over about there. So this particular image we're going to go for a few more colours than we did last time and a few different techniques. So again, using our scrap piece of paper, just wanting to apply some purple, and we're just going to use that, and this is basically going to be the water of the image, so we're just going to streak that just over the bottom part like so. Right, so we've got the sun just there, so we're just wanting to add a little bit of yellow to that. Now let's just see if there's any on our brush. Let's just change the brushes. Okay, so there's our yellow, so we're just going to use the yellow just around the sun. So again, in our little sweeping motion, just go around the sun and just keep your fingers on that whilst moving around. Okay. Now from red, we want to use the hot magenta. So again, just go onto our scrap piece of paper and then just very, very lightly just go around. You'll see I'm making sure I don't go into the water area down the bottom of our design, like so. So gentle sweeping motions, and then just go slightly into the yellow. We're just going to use the yellow brush once again, just to really blend those two colours together. There we go, like so. Right, now we're just going to use our purple again, or our lavender. So again, just get a piece of scrap paper, just going to apply a little bit more paint actually to the foam brush. Right, happy with that. And then just on the real outskirts of the picture, like so. There we go, and just round this side. And then when you're happy with the graduation, you can then maybe go just back over the yellow. I always go use the lightest colour to actually blend all the colours afterwards, like that. Okay, we're just going to now use a colour that we don't use that much, but it has such a great effect, and that is actually the dark khaki. So again, I've just got it on the brush. Just take a lot of that off because we just want the slightest hint. So just go on to our design, just really on the edge of the design there. Okay, so just building up that colour very gradually. Okay, and then just go back over the yellow very lightly, so it's pressure here actually on your brush that will give you that really nice light effect. Then maybe we want to go back over, so we're just going to go back over where we've done that dark khaki with just a bit of the lavender, and there we go, that's looking quite nice. And over on that side. Okay, right, now what we need to do is to go back and add a little bit more detail to what is the water area on our design. So we're going to want to use the hot magenta here. So basically whatever colour is in your sky is then reflected down into your water. So let's just add a little bit of the hot magenta onto that side and down onto that side. You'll notice I'm still using the streaking motion to the brush as opposed to the circular sweeping motion. And then we're just going to want to add a little bit of the dark khaki. Okay, let's just reload the brush a little bit, I think, with that. So just the smallest amount of khaki just there. Like I say, just build the colour up very, very slowly. Okay. So just build that colour up very gently, like so. Okay, we just need to add a little bit more of the hot magenta back into that. So just dab that in, just to make sure we're not going to have too much colour on there. Like so, and then where the sun is, just there, we're going to add some yellow. So let's just get some yellow on the brush, just enough, and then just into that, what is the water area there, just a little bit more. So like I say, just build your colours up very gradually. Okay, so now looking at that, we just need to add a little bit more colour down here. So we're going to go for the hot magenta. So just again onto our rough piece of paper, and then just add a little bit of colour going into that, and maybe a little bit more of the khaki, just building that colour up. Okay, right, when we get to this point, we then need to bring in a paintbrush. Okay, this is one of those ones, basically, let's just move that, where the water is in the barrel. Okay, so bringing our pot actually in, you can use these as you would watercolour. So just very gently go over the top there. You can see you can actually paint with them quite successfully. So you just want to add a little bit of that. Okay, basically where the elephants are on the top part of the picture. Okay, you don't have to be too accurate actually about this really, because you're then going to blend that in a little bit later. So let's go over like so. Just try to avoid any really, really dark strokes. Right, so we can actually remove the mask now. Okay, so let's just move that out the way. Okay, so that's near enough the picture actually done. We just need to now go over, because obviously where the sun or the mask was, we can see there should also be a reflection of the elephant down there. So it's probably about there, like so. Okay, right, we'll just let that dry a little bit, and then we will go over with our yellow brush just to tone in the reflection actually in the water of that image. So we'll come back to that one in a couple of minutes. Okay, that should be a little bit drier now. So what I'm going to do is using the yellow again, just very, very carefully, very lightly, just go over where we've done that reflection in there. Just going to add a little bit more of the hot magenta back into there, and the dark khaki just right, there we go, just right into the edge of the image. And there we have that particular image.